Hello and welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 177. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Isli.
Yo.
And we were out last week, so we have quite a bit to go over. I mean, this week we had the PlayStation State of Play, which we'll recap. Xbox was at the Tokyo Game Show, but nothing exciting was really done there. It was just like stuff that was already announced. It's like, oh, there was the Metal Gear Solid Delta trailer, which is fun, but it's like there wasn't anything really exciting there to go over, so we probably won't recap that. But we do have some other stuff to go over. So because we missed last week, one of the bits that came out that I was interested in was that Vince Zampella confirmed that the next Battlefield would be set in the modern setting, and they released kind of concept art for it. So I'm excited for that because like Battlefield 3 and 4 were really good, and then they, I loved 1, and I know a lot of other people love Battlefield 1. And I put so much time in that game. I think more than I did Battlefield 3. 5, I liked 5. It's just they try to change too much from a gameplay mechanic standpoint that it just didn't quite take off, and I had a little bit of problems. I think mostly on the PC side, and then 2042 just wasn't good, and I didn't even buy that one, so I didn't play it. So I'm excited to see it go back to kind of like the more modern roots, and that'll be cool. But obviously, it's going to be a big old wait and see on that one, how it turns out. And then we got confirmation from Netflix during their, I think their next show. I forget what they call their Netflix Geek Week showcase, but they confirmed that there's going to be a new Cyberpunk animated project coming with CD Projekt Red on the way. So I'm curious.
Man, the expectations are going to be sky high for that project after Edge Runner. Edge Runner?
Yeah.
God, I'm blanking on the name.
Edge Runners.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And then jumping into this week. So one of the big things. Well, we'll get into State of Play last. Actually, I'll cover some small stuff. There was Meta announced a Quest 3S, which is a cheaper VR headset that's launching in October. There's 2 SKUs, the 128 gig and 256 kind of standard, and it's going to be $300 and $400. I know it has a smaller resolution screen, lower display, but it's nice that they're still pushing these kind of like cheaper PC-free options for folks. And then I know they have a sale going on the Meta Quest 3 as well, and then Meta Quest 2 typically is on sale quite often as well. So it's nice to see that they're still getting behind it. I am looking at the Meta as a Meta Quest as a standalone headset option on top of.
Do you have the PSVR?
No, I was thinking about getting it earlier this year in like March that time, but pending on a few things that didn't end up turning out happening quite as expected. So I was like, yeah, I'll hold off. But I am interested because we'll get into a game later in the showcase. But I would like to get this one because at least I talked before. Let the kid could use the one that doesn't require PC connection just fine. And then if I can use it and also get the link to hook it up to games on Steam and what have you, if I want to use it in the office. But then apparently there's also rumors that Blizzard's working on a StarCraft shooter with the ex-Far Cry chief Dan Hay at the helm.
Where have we heard this before? StarCraft shooter with Ghost?
Early 2000s or something like that. It's like Ghost, yeah. But that was third person, I think.
People were so fucking excited about that, though.
Yeah, because it was playable too. Like it was playable at a showcase and then just went away. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. The problem is I'm like, okay, Space Marines 2 is like kicking off right now. Like people are getting introduced to Warhammer, 40,000 like for the first time, and with Space Marine 2. And I'm like, this might be the game I jump into. Like they have a bunch of other ones. Like it seems like some Warhammer 40K is like against orcs, but this one seems more against like bugs. So I'm not sure exactly the lore of the entire universe, if it's different time periods, different parts of the galaxy, what have you. I have no idea. But Space Marines 2 does look really interesting. I am interested in playing that at some point, just not right now. But I'd be curious to see, okay, if they do a first-person StarCraft, is it just going to be kind of the same thing? Like you're just going around fighting the Zerg? And like, I don't know. Unless you're like trying to take out Rebel Terran factions prior to the events after StarCraft 1, or because there's not really break off until the events of StarCraft 1, and then you get Jim Raynor and his group. But I'd be curious, what they plan to do.
I know that it takes place in different locations in StarCraft 1, but the universe is big enough that they could just take the alien route where they keep finding new outposts and things like that, and they just treat it as like different planet, different outpost.
Yeah, I guess like we're going to stealth into a Protoss base and
Potentially, some like I don't know. I mean, like I say the Alien comparison just because every new Alien movie is essentially like, oh, we've actually discovered more xenomorphs here now, and they could take a similar approach with StarCraft shooter, where it's we just discovered alien outposts here now.
Yeah, but we'll see if that. And again, this is just a rumor. Like it could even be something as simple as like, oh, they were pitching it and it doesn't go any further. But this is just the hearing the rumblings of it, and it's just not fully reported on. But
believe it when it happens.
Yeah. And then the other funny bit of news I saw before we get into State of Play is that apparently Fntastic is back, and they announced a Kickstarter for their studio. And I'm like, you really just going to try to steal from people again, you motherfuckers?
It's like, have you looked into the Kickstarter and everything? It's like the exact same thing. They're like, you gave us money and helped us realize our dreams once. Now do it again.
Yeah,
like, they like unashamedly are like, now we need your help again to do it one more time.
Yeah. After the closure, we reflected on our past mistakes and initiated significant internal changes to drive radical improvement. We've discontinued the practice of involving external volunteers and are now fully committed to a more professional approach. Honesty, transparency, and community engagement have become our top priorities. Yeah, fuck you. This is just... Don't back this Kickstarter. I hadn't even looked to see... I should look just to... I'm really curious what the Kickstarter looks like. But yeah, it's F these guys. Like, I can't believe they're coming back. But I was like, good Lord. I saw that pop up and I was like, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. But anyway. But jumping into the big news this week was the Sony State of Play. A bunch of, about, over 30 minutes. We'll go in order of what was shown. So Astrobot is getting some speedrun Special Bot add-on DLC. That'll be coming out later this year. Then there was a game called The Midnight Walk, which is shown, which is by the folks who did... They did Lost in Random, Moonhood Studios. And it's like little claymation style. Looks really cool. It looks interesting, I should say. I'm curious to see how it'll do. But it does have PSVR 2 support, but you don't have to play it with that. But it looks like it's that same kind of support that Astrobot Rescue Mission was, where it's like, and Moss, where it's like it's third-person VR, where you're kind of like the god guiding the character, which is kind of what Moss was. You're helping the mouse.
Which I've heard people say is one of the more pleasant types of gaming experiences in VR, but I haven't really gotten into enough VR myself to know if that's actually true.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Like, people love Moss and Moss Book 2 a lot because of that. And I'm trying to think of, because the only other experiences I really had with VR were all like FPS stuff, but none of that third person. But I guess it'd be a little more relaxed because you're not moving around in first person. You're just kind of like watching, just rotating your head, maybe moving obstacles for, someone to cross. So I'll be curious how it plays out with this. But that did look interesting. And then there was gameplay for Hell Is Us. This is a game that was shown off. It was funny because like no one remembered this being showcased like a year ago.
God, it's been on my list for a while.
Yeah, I did. I when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is that game that I saw like they had like the announcement trailer for, which is kind of like a CG trailer. But I was like, I forgot it was called Hell Is Us, but I knew like, oh, this is that game. I've been interested in this game and how it turns out. But yeah, Hell Is Us is coming to PS5, obviously. The gameplay wasn't too long in there, but I'm really curious how it's going to go once it, they show more of it. But it seems interesting. And like you said, definitely on my list.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's basically like a Souls-like Remnant kind of vibe of guns, hell, Dark Souls combat, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then,
seems fun. It kind of seemed like it turned into vaporware. I'm glad that it made a resurgence because I'm excited about it. Yeah, they haven't really shown a ton of it yet. Just like teaser trailers that show the vibe and the atmosphere they're going for, which seems like a lot of fun and right up my alley. But need some gameplay, need some content.
Yep. Then we had more for Metro Awakening VR, which is coming out November 7th on PSVR 2. This is a game that I'm really interested in to play. It's like, man, it looks really good too for a PSVR title. Like I'm used to like it looks as good as like Half-Life Alyx does. Like Half-Life Alyx looks really good, and there are some other games in VR on PlayStation that do look good, but typically they're like more of those dungeon crawlers where it's like the aesthetic of that kind of medieval dungeon design helps to make it look good. And I know like Asgard. Oh, what's that? Let's see. Asgard's Wrath 2 is currently available on MetaQuest. Yeah, it's Asgard's Wrath. It's an overworld action RPG. It's certainly like super long. It's like really good. I think Asgard Wrath 2 got like a 9 across the board or something like that. Like it's really good. But anyways, it's like that was the game that was like it was so long, but it didn't look nearly as visually impressive as like some of the smaller stuff. But yeah, it's like that's apparently supposed to be like a super popular. I think it came out like near the end of 2023. But yeah, it's like it's supposed to be really, really good. But yeah, and then after that we had a couple of things. Arcade Chronicles. I guess I wasn't familiar with Arcade. Zaya said it was like a MMO back in on PC, like I think early 2000s maybe, or like 2014, 2013, something like that. Not familiar with it at all, but apparently it's coming back. And Power World's coming to PS5, so there's
Hopefully.
that. No release date. Yeah. Then Lunar Remaster Collection was announced. I was like, I don't know this game at all, but if people are excited for that, then good. They had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. They had Sonic X Shadow Generations, Fantasian Neo Dimension, which is that game. I think it was like iPad only, right, for a long time. And now it's coming in December to PS4 and 5. I think that series was an iPad only series, I believe.
I think that's the one.
Yeah. They had an extended trailer for Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is weird because they showed a boss fight. I'm like, okay. And they kept cutting to black, but I'm like, the health bar wasn't like dropping significantly. So it wasn't like they were skipping time. It was just like cut to black. I'm like, did something bad happen? Like someone clipped to the ground and that's why you cut to black? Like, I was trying to figure out. I went back and watched it. I was like, why are you cutting to black so much?
I feel so bad, but that game looks so bad. The combat actually looks kind of interesting, but like everything about the story and the character models, and they changed the freaking, the Kunari? They changed them to be like weird dragon monster creatures that kind of looked like gargoyles to just like humans with really big foreheads. I don't understand this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a big Dragon Age person. Like I played Dragon Age Inquisition that year and I beat it, but I don't have any like memories of this was a ton of fun. Like I just played, I think because that year 2014 there wasn't much to play at the time. I mean, it won Game of the Year from a lot of places because there wasn't much that came out that year. But yeah, so I'm like, I don't care. I probably won't play this, unless it turns out it's like, oh, it's really good. I'm like, okay, but like I have no connection with the characters, nothing at all. But
it just like, I don't know, something about the game to me whenever I see trailers of it, it just looks shockingly average.
Yeah, I guess it's like, I feel like I said this in Discord to Zaya. I was talking, I was like, boss fights in these kind of games like are weird to showcase in a trailer because you're not playing it. Like it's all about feel. And like I can't tell, is this going to feel good to play? Like showing gameplay of like running around attacking like simple sword swipes and shit like that in a game. Like God of War, it's like, okay, I can kind of get it. But it's like, okay, then we do a big boss fight where now it's running everything together. It's like, okay, I don't know if this feels good. I see you using abilities. There's fancy stuff on the screen, but does it feel good to play? And like, I can't get that across with just a gameplay boss fight. And boss fights is always so weird to show. Like, just show me other stuff, I guess. But I don't know. We'll see. Then Alan Wake 2 DLC, The Lake House, got shown. That's going to be coming out in October.
Very excited.
Yep. Then Hitman World of Assassins, which is a PSVR 2 Hitman game. I think it might be coming to some other platforms as well, but that was shown there. I did like when the hands go to like choke out the guy, there's like a contextual finger grip animation state change for when the hands get closer to the neck to be like, oh, just normal hands to choking hands. And it was really funny to see. I'm like, all right. And then it got leaked beforehand, but the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remaster was shown there. Those are games I never actually played. I played the demos for 2 maybe on a demo disc, but I never actually played those games. So it'll be interesting to go back and actually play them, considering they were like Amy Hennig's first. So that'll be interesting. I'm curious, like because it's just like a skin upgrade essentially, and running at
Hmm.
higher FPS and resolution. Like I'm like, is the gameplay and puzzle design stuff going to hold up from that gen? But we'll see. And then a game called Fear the Spotlight that was shown. Don't recall that. It's from that's the Blumhouse game. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Then we had Towers of Agazba, which this is one that was shown. I want to say, when was this? Was it at the Keighley event? I think Summer Game Fest. I remember seeing it beforehand. But anyways, it's going to be in early access in November. There's Lego Fortnite, yada yada. Monster Hunter Wilds had a really long trailer. I know people are excited for that. Then if Zaya was here, she'd be talking all about it.
She'd be freaking out, yeah.
Yep. Lego Horizon Zero Dawn was shown. That's coming Thursday, the 14th of November.
Which, weird timing on it, but very excited about it. That might be, I don't know. All the Lego games, they're usually really fun to play. So I really hope it reviews well, because it could be a really fun Horizon experience.
Yeah, and it could be like, my oldest, he's, stuck in Roblox, so he's not really going to play a game like this. But it's my youngest, so I could see like, okay, maybe if he wants to play Lego games or something, it could be a thing that he gets into. And then it's also coming out on Nintendo, of course, so I'll be curious to see how well it does on that platform. And then it was leaked by the PlayStation Store itself, and also there was rumors about it before, like leading up to the showcase. But they officially confirmed the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, which is coming out Thursday, the 31st of October for PC and PS5. If you already own the game on either platform, it's just $10 for the upgrade. So unlike where The Last of Us Part 1 was like remade from the ground up, so they charged the full price for it and it wasn't just a free upgrade. This is very much like when the new gen launched and it's like, oh, you want Death Stranding Director's Cut? It's $10. Oh, you want Ghost of Tsushima, the upgrade? It's, $10. Like what you want to do to incentivize people to get the upgrade for the new console. So it's nice to see that it's there. And then what was interesting is it wasn't just a visual upgrade, is that they re-recorded conversation mocap for the game, like I think they said over 10 hours of conversation mocap. I'm like, because that's one of the things that was most janky in the first one is the conversations, especially with like.
Did they have mocap in the first one, or was it just like the?
Yeah,
I honestly can't remember.
It
I
was
remember
just
being janky. I just don't remember being mocap.
Yeah, it was just really janky. So I'm really curious how it looked. I mean, it looked better in the trailer. When I saw them, like, oh, these conversations, like, they definitely look good. And then they also imported the Aloy model from Forbidden West into Zero Dawn, and they also tweaked some lighting. So, because, when you go back and you see Aloy in this one, because obviously it was PS4, versus Aloy after the engine's been tweaked and they're more familiar with it, she looks better in the new game. It's like she does look. It's kind of like that Toy Story 2, Toy Story 1. So not as drastic as that, but like a little plasticky, and that kind of comes down to lighting and subsurface scattering of the skin and what have you. So it's like, oh, we have a better model for Aloy. They got tweaked, and we put it in this game. So that's cool as well. I usually don't like when they do that in games, like the Nathan Drake collection. They put the Uncharted 3 Elena into Uncharted 2, and I hated that because I'm like, why did you do that? This isn't the Elena that's in this one. Like, because in 3, like, she's actively, they're separated. Spoilers,
right.
And she's out on the field, like, reporting, like she's doing her job. So she's got makeup on, and everything, and like she has like much more than she had in like the first and second one. But it was like, it's so weird now seeing her in the earlier games with all that makeup, because it's that model. And I'm like, it's so weird. I'm like, she's reporting in a war-torn city in 2. Like, why would she bother with that? It looks so weird versus like how Drake runs into her in 3. It's like, okay, you're not in a war-torn location. Like, okay, it kind of makes sense for the character to have all this. So it's just, I always thought that was weird, but yeah, they did here, so that was nice. I'm curious, definitely interested to see how those re-recorded conversations go, and then just like I said, $10. That's nice. I like that it is a $10 credit. Although Sony did raise the price of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Did.
on the store. It was like $20, and I think they raised it up to $39.99. I'm like,
They did. They doubled it.
you sneaky little fucks.
They decided to jack it up right beforehand because they knew a bunch of people would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back and play this." That was definitely like this is shitty. Come on, this game has been out for a while. You are milking it.
Yeah, that's like you didn't think we were gonna notice. Like, it's like, come on. That when I heard they did that, I was like, man, like you just you knew it was coming. You already took it off the collection, and that's how people figured, okay, this is a conversation because you don't want this on there if they're gonna remaster it. You want to incentivize people to get it. I'm like, but
which is annoying because like as part of a collection, it should be the games that are like, oh, this is a really iconic game. That's why people pay for things like collections.
Or do the thing that, it's part of that PS Plus collection. So it's like, or do what they did with like Final Fantasy, where when the remake was out on the PlayStation Plus collection for PS5, that free version wasn't eligible to get Intermission, the expansion. Like you had to have a paid version to get the DLC, to get the expansion version. Like, that's fine. Do that. Just be like, you can have this. You can have the collection version of Horizon Zero Dawn for free. Well, not free because you're paying for PlayStation Plus. But it's like, have it, but you can't pay for the upgrade. You need to actually own a copy of it. And it's like that. I feel like would be the way to do it. But whatever. But again, $10 though. That was, if you already own it, was what kind of made me go, okay, this isn't that bad because I don't have to pay full price for it. Yada yada. So, but I don't know if I'll ever go back and replay the first one. But now that it looks a little better,
I mean, I've already replayed the first one like I think twice because I replayed it I think immediately after beating it since I enjoyed the game so much, and then they came out with that DLC. I don't know, at some point in the future where they had like the ultra hard mode, they added like the single trophy, and then they added DLC to the game, and I think I replayed it again when that came out. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't see myself replaying it. It was a really fun game, but maybe if I come back in a few years, like I've really enjoyed it, I could see myself coming back in a few years, replaying it way further down the line, but not at the moment.
Yeah, not right now, but because I picked up like Last of Us Part 1, but I still haven't played it. I'm like, I have it, and I'm like, I had intentions to play it, but I forget what happened. I didn't end up playing it.
Yep.
But yeah, this I can maybe at some point in the future because it is a fun game, and I do like running around that world, and I like the kind of the progression of the way that world unlocks as you go along. But anyways, and there was some other stuff like, oh hey, Stellar Blade, get into photo mode, Nier Automata collaboration DLC later this year, PlayStation Plus, October games announced, Dead Space, WD 2K24, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus.
Which Dead Space is a great one for October to be free. That was a really fun game, and the remake was fantastic.
Yeah, so it's Doki Doki Literature Club. I'm curious, there's some aspects of the game I'm like, how do they do that on console? Because there's some stuff on PC where it's like...
Yeah, I don't know. Good question.
There are like subfolders. Maybe there's going to be like an extra, manage DLC folder. Anyways, I won't go into it, but I'm curious. And then, of course, the PlayStation Plus Classic Catalogs expanded with Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, Dino Crisis. Those get added there. And then Last of Us Part 1, speaking of Last of Us, is joining the PS Plus game catalog. It actually just joined the catalog this week. So, and then there was a little highlight reel for PS5 Pros and some additional games that would have support for it. Kind of the same ones. I think there's the only ones that were new were like Metal Gear Solid Delta. That was shown off there. But the big announcement from the showcase, which was unexpected, but I knew it was Ghost as soon as I saw the leaves in that black and white opening shot, was Ghost of Yotai, which is a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. It takes place about 300 years after the fact. But yeah, you get a new character. They don't list it on this breakdown page, unfortunately, so I don't recall their name. But the voice actor is the one who does Valkyrie in Apex Legends, so I'm familiar with the VA and the performance character. But yeah, I'm super excited for a new Ghost game, man.
I mean, it's super iconic. Yeah, that was the big one where I was actually surprised they announced something like that in a State of Play. I was expecting, we talked before the State of Play about what they would show since there were so many games and it was such a short amount of time that we were both thinking, it's just going to be like indie games. But Ghost of Yotai looks great. I like the idea that it's set so much later with a different protagonist. I'm really curious how that's going to feel in the game, and if Ghost of Tsushima is going to kind of follow the like Assassin's Creed route where different games have different protagonists all the time, which would be interesting because I feel like they could have actually still had Jin as the protagonist if they wanted to. So I do feel like it's a narrative decision not to include him. But it looks gorgeous. I love the game. You know, I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh yeah, Wolf Companion with uh, Ghost of Tsushima gameplay and combat. Yeah, I'm sold.
In beautiful environments. Yeah, I don't know what they would have done more with Jin though, because I feel like everything was resolved. Like it was all about the Mongol invasion, and then some leftover forces on Iki Island, or family member on Iki Island. But I'm like, I don't know what else you would have done.
I mean, he'd kind of accepted who he was at that point.
Yeah.
So they definitely could have done a sequel where it's like it builds off of the fact that he becomes a ghost of another island or something, you know, battles Mongols or something elsewhere, goes to a different part of the world. Like, I think there are a lot of ways they could have expanded it if they want to, but I actually think that this jump forward in time with a different protagonist is a really smart move. And internally, I'm kind of hoping they bring Jin back as a like DLC ghost kind of thing, like how they did with the multiplayer where everyone played kind of historical figures.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they should bring Jin back in that form as like part of the DLC for like a multiplayer component, and I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Or even just like, Ghost kind of becomes like the Dread Pirate Roberts title for people throughout, like you said, if they do the Assassin's Creed thing. So it's like, oh, here's someone else who's, doing this, and it's like not like a Robin Hood title, but like, it's someone doing something very similar, be it not revenge, but like, outside the laws and what have you, going a little rogue to do take care of some bad people, and like, oh, we have a new ghost. Like the ghost is like a legend and that keeps coming back, and now it's this new one. But then like maybe you can find Jin's armor. I don't know why it would be on Yotai, but it's like maybe you hear some stories or you learn about it, or like secretly he went on vacation and he buried his armor there. It's not on Tsushima. Like who knows? But there's some cool stuff you could do by learning about like the history of the ghost for this new character.
It was definitely like a surprise reveal to me. I'm pretty excited about it though.
Yeah, it's I can't wait. I'm definitely excited for this one coming in 2025. No idea when 2025. It must be like, because they don't have enough ready and queued up to do like a proper like PlayStation Direct. I feel like the PlayStation Directs are more when they have, hey, we have a lot of things that we can showcase that we haven't showcased, be it from us or third-party partners. But yeah, it's just dev cycles, man. I feel like
State of Play in the Direct used to be that, I feel like State of Play used to be their competitor to Nintendo Directs, where they would announce like 30 new things. And then when they did the Directs, they would focus on like one game or something, and just it'd be like 30 minutes of just that game. But I feel like Sony's plans for how they treat these kind of the shows that they do, I don't think they figured it out yet. This is totally unrelated. It seems like they have not figured out how they want to utilize all of these shows, because sometimes you get surprise drops like Ghost of Yotai, and sometimes it's just like a garbage show that you're kind of like, why are you even presenting this?
Yeah, it's weird. And again, I think it's just because it's all about dev timing, right? Like if it was, tighter time between games, it'd be easier. But, and maybe they just don't want to do that whole, we've heard stories about people who are like crunching for their E3 demo and how much like dev time that takes off the main game, because you have to make sure the demo works and everything. It's like we've moved away from that culture since they stopped going to E3 and then E3 died. So it's like, okay, now we're kind of just like, we'll do these, you have so many other showcases that you could do stuff if you want, or you can just kind of do your own little, we'll put that one in the State of Play. We'll put that one in a PlayStation Direct, and we'll do this, yada, yada. And it feels like Directs are more around or within that first year of like a new console. Like I feel like we probably won't get a Direct again until closer to like PlayStation 6, like to announce that and show games. And then
that'd be a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I don't remember the last time they had a proper Direct that was Because I think the last one they had was kind of like, man, were like the ones they had before that were like pretty substantial. Like I remember the one for leading up to PlayStation 5, and it's like, getting that Demon Souls reveal and whatnot, and getting Spider-Man 2 and all these other things, and Wolverine, and like all those showcases.
That's not the last one we had, is it really?
That's not the last one. I'm saying the last like really good one.
Oh yeah, agreed with that.
Yeah, yeah, because most of the ones we've had recently have been, third-party partners, not much, or it's just trailers for stuff we already knew, like, oh, here's another follow-up trailer to Ragnarok or something. It's like it's not all like brand new stuff because we kind of know what they have in the works. So that's why state of plays will be like, hey, we'll open with Concord and we'll end, or a Concord teaser, and then we'll end with Fair Games, or these other newly acquired studios kind of just quickly announcing what they're doing. Yeah, because I think the last direct did have Fair Games showed off a little more like a proper showcase, not just an announcement. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the news this week. Like I said, it wasn't a whole lot. TGS going on. I don't think there's a new Death Stranding 2 trailer. I know there's like a clip where it's like a conversation between some characters, but I'm like, I'm not gonna watch that. Like if it was a proper trailer, I'd watch it or something. But I'm not gonna watch like a, hey, let's watch this cutscene, what have you. But and I know Kojima like signed up with some production studio to do like film, TV stuff, yada yada, and everything like that. But not really something you want to report on for games. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for what's happened. I was trying to go through and see if there's anything else that I missed, and I'm sure there's probably like some small stuff. Like I said, there were a lot of things at TGS. The Xbox showcase is just nothing that, like, okay, you got another Indiana Jones trailer. It's like, that's great. And then you have StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2 coming to Game Pass. Like, okay, that's great. But like nothing else is like, it's all stuff for games that none of us here play, or at least, maybe Zaya does, but just not all that important. And I know the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom reviews came out, and that's apparently doing really well. I think that released
It's just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to see. No one's complaining that they have to play as a girl in that one.
It seems like it captures the spirit of like the 2D Zeldas, in a creative way where they basically replace like items with echoes, and I don't know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we did have the Last of Us 2 trailer drop, season 2 trailer. That came out like a full one, not just a little itty bitty snippet from some sizzle reel that HBO does. So that was fun to see. It's interesting that I'm like, okay, is Catherine O'Hara's character like this therapist, like, spoilers for the beginning of Tila 2, but like, is that who he tells about Ellie 2? Like he tells Tommy, about what happened. So like, is he gonna tell the therapist? Is there doctor-patient confidentiality in this post-apocalyptic future? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm curious if because he does say in that one line of one of the teasers, he does say, "I saved her." But I'm like, okay, he must, because of the context of this trailer, he must say that to the thing. Maybe he doesn't say exactly what he does. He just says, "I saved her," and he says like he had to do some bad stuff or something. But yeah, good trailer. I mean,
yeah, great trailer. Yeah. I'm really excited to see the show come back, and very curious how they handle it.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the character's name, but the one guy who dated Dina and then they broke up, and he like kind of jokingly gives Ellie some shit at the beginning. Like, you kissed my girlfriend? He goes, I'm just fucking with you. I'm blanking on his name, but that actor being in there, like, he's so much more jacked than the game character, because obviously they don't they only modeled his face for the game, so it was funny seeing him like, oh, he's so much bigger than his character was. But yeah, good trailer. It was fun seeing all those like kind of like iconic moments, and then seeing people who don't know the game, who've only seen the series, react to it as well, and not know what's going on. It's really fun.
I have to be careful to not comment on it, because there's like probably a bunch of people that haven't played the game where this is going to be their first introduction to the story.
Yeah. But yeah, we can go ahead and move on from there to what we've been playing. Go ahead and start with you, because I know you have platinumed Lies of P, correct?
Yes, I went through and beat the hell out of Lies of P, and that was a really great game. So I think by last week I beat my first time through, and then I did another run through and platinumed it. The game is truly is just Bloodborne. Like across the board, that game is just Bloodborne. But yeah, Liza P was sorry, gotta pause for a sec. I am having a cough attack. Sorry about that. Still sick. Yeah, so Liza P is just Bloodborne. I really loved the weapon mechanics in that game. The ability to combine different handles with different blades works so well for weapon creativity, and there's also a shit ton of weapons, and they pretty much all feel really unique and really good, which surprised me. Um, I figured that a lot of the weapons would feel like repeats of, you know, other models you have in the game. And then I figured with so many handles, they wouldn't feel unique. The handles would feel like repeats too. But it really creates a unique system of trying to find a boss's weakness and then creating a weapon that really suits the boss that you're fighting at the time. Um, so love that aspect of it. The leveling system was really complex at the start, especially when you get introduced to like the P organ. But like partway through the game, it all just kind of clicks of customization, and really ended up enjoying the P organ and how you can customize your character and build your character in different ways. Honestly, just only positive things to say about the game. It handled everything exceptionally well. I love the combat in it. The parry system is really fun. Uh, it felt kind of like clunky at first in the first level or two. And honestly, throughout most of my first playthrough, I didn't really get good at parrying and used to the parry system. And then near the end of the game, you get introduced to a few bosses where parry is clearly like the easiest way to beat the bosses. And that was what made it really click for me. And then going into New Game Plus was when I ended up parrying most of the bosses instead of kind of like brute forcing my way through. Just because the first playthrough is kind of easy enough that you can brute force your way through most bosses incorrectly. Like if you want to use a Spectre to beat them, Spectres help a ton. If you want to use throwing items, that helps a ton. A lot of the weapons are really powerful. So you definitely don't need to parry when you're playing the first time, but at least not until the end. But yeah, I love the game. It was really fun. I'm excited for the DLC. I hope it comes out soon. I'm excited for a sequel. Yeah, just all around great game.
Yeah, that Spectre is super strong. I remember when I was going through the first time when I played through up to chapter 7, and I was like, because this I was trying to get. I was like, man, I can't on King of Puppets. I was like, I got to get through this phase 1 faster so I can actually practice in phase 2. So after a bunch of attempts on phase 1, I'm like, I'm just going to use the Spectre to get through phase 1 really quick, have him die at near the end, and then of phase 1, beat phase 1, and then it could just be me in phase 2 practicing, and then I'll do a full run through. But like the second time I used it, he made it like through phase 1 super easy, and then he lived through so much of phase 2 that when I beat phase 2, I was like, I hated it. I was like, I can't. I don't like that I used the Spectre to beat this boss. So I like, So I like, that's when I stopped and I replayed through the entire game to get back up to the point to beat King of Puppets legit. Because like that is one of those bosses that's like the sticking point for a lot of the player base. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so when I went back, I was like, there were a lot of bosses. Like, okay, I just want to get through this quick. I'm gonna like speed run. So I used the Spectre on like a lot of the earlier bosses, and that thing is just so strong. I'm like, and then when I watch people, it's like, yeah, it's the people that use Spectres, people that are streaming. I'm like, yeah, he's just like, he's so powerful. But the problem is like in that game, especially, they don't put in as many skill checks as they probably could to make sure that people are learning. Like they do it with the Walker of Illusion, and then obviously to do Nameless Puppet, you have to. But like so many people like can't at that point if they rely too much on the Spectre. It's like they just quit because they can't beat Nameless Puppet.
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of that's a good way to put it. Of like they don't really have skill checks in the game. Even Walker of Illusions wasn't really a skill check for me because
Oh yeah, not for you. I'm talking about people that rely on the Spectre.
I just mean like Walker of Illusions for me was like it's a fun fight, but I didn't like get good parrying at it. You know, when I finally beat it, it was kind of like by the I barely beat it. It didn't feel like, oh, I finally mastered this fight. The two big fights I kind of remember as skill checks. Well, King of Puppets wasn't a skill check because I used a Spectre on it, and then I felt guilty about using a Spectre on Romeo. Um, but the big, ones were Nameless Puppet, which is obviously the very last fight in the game. But that fight alone, when things start clicking for you, it's like, oh my God, this finally all makes sense. When you learn how to parry things and you realize, like, oh, all of these moves are really easy to parry. And once you can parry things and like recognize which attacks it is, it all just kind of clicks together. So that was a really big one. And then, God, I'm blanking on the fight that's like 2 or 3 before that. That's the big one.
Luxasia.
Yes, that one, Luxasia. Once that one clicks with parrying, that also was a really big one. But both of those are near the end of the game. And, King of Puppets is definitely a skill check of sorts, but you can still brute force your way through it. There aren't any other fights earlier in the game that really prevent you to learn the parry system, which I think is an unfortunate kind of like side effect because once you get to New Game Plus, like I said, like everything just had clicked for me because I was forced to learn the parry system by Nameless Puppet. But it's like that's at the very end of the game. It would be cool to have a tutorial or intro boss earlier in the game that maybe disables the Spectre and kind of teaches people to parry.
Yeah,
Because
because
it's
even
really
the
fun and the system works really well.
yeah, because even the parade puppet that's the start of the game that doesn't have it, it's like it's very basic. So it's
Yeah.
like you don't need to, and there's so many bosses that you don't even need to parry. You could just dodge. Like you can just do
Yep.
standard Dark Souls dodging and then block and tank the damage, a little bit of damage, and just not parry. So it's not like parrying's required. And I'm not even talking about like skill check for knowing how to parry. I just mean in general, like King of Puppets being such a big difference between uh both phases is tough. Like even the green swamp monster was like a huge problem for a lot of players as well. Um
Hmm.
and it's just like, yeah, even irrespective of knowing how to parry, it's just the fact that those bosses were uh, so different. King of Puppets, at least, is like, okay, here's a big old two-phase boss, and he's versus being a boss that just goes into a second phase halfway through the HP being,
Right.
taken down. So it's like, okay, this is like you need to master phase one, so you have enough to get to phase two. But then it's like, okay, now at that point, you probably don't have enough files to be able to heal yourself through phase two to actually learn it enough. And it's like that's why I ended up using the Spectre, and I was like, I hate it. So then I didn't do it. But yeah, use even the using the Spectre through like again going through that running through to get back to that point was just like, damn, this guy just really makes everything so easy. It's kind of ridiculous how
Yeah.
which is what kind of goes to again, if people that I've watched that rely too much on the Spectre to do the fighting and don't do any fighting themselves, just then get destroyed, especially if they're fighting, second to the last, or quote unquote the last boss and not doing Nameless Puppet, and then they're just like, if the Spectre dies, it's like then they're screwed. They just
Yeah.
they don't know how to survive. So it's just like, but throwing, like you said, throwing items are so good in this game. Like
They're
throwables are
so good.
fantastic.
And I didn't discover that until God, what fight? It was one of the later fights. It might have been the swamp monster thing of I was super close to beating it, but I had no heals left and had like a sliver of health left. And I was like, God, I've got a few throwing items equipped. I guess I'll just chuck them at it from a distance. And I chucked them at it, and it took like one, took a huge chunk off of it. And I was like, oh my God, I should have been doing this all along.
Yeah, and like you said, the P organ definitely allows you to kind of spec towards your play style. Like if you
Yeah.
like throwing items, you increase how many you can carry. If you like to, if you take damage but you're good at, getting your health back, you can increase
Yeah.
the window of time you have to do that, or reduce the guard regain. You do all
I
that kind of
think
stuff. So it's like really cool.
one of the interesting things about the P organ and the game development, just kind of in general, is there's honestly a lot of ways you can play that game. So you can't really make the argument of like, oh, you just need to get good because your playstyle doesn't work or something, because the P organ really allows you to customize your character a ton of different ways. I mean, you can build so many different characters that are all pretty equally effective. Now, I say pretty equally effective with the exception of like Nameless Puppet, where it's like you just need to parry. Like that's the way you beat it. You just need to parry. Um, but I think that's also kind of why I'm like, I wish there was a skill check earlier in the game that forced people to parry, because the parry system is really cool in the game. And I almost wish you were forced to use it more, just because I found it to be a really fun system. I know probably not everyone finds parrying fun, but man, there's just nothing quite like it when like a boss clicks and you parry all of the attacks and you're like, yeah, this is fine. Then you hit them once or twice and they're staggered and you do a shit ton of damage. It just feels so good.
Yeah, yeah, it's real good. in that game. But so I beat Sons of the Forest. Played through that. I don't know how long it took me. Let me see what my Steam playtime says, because it felt like it didn't. Like I beat it that week that I fully devoted to doing it on stream, and I played for like 2 hours each night. Let's see, Sons of the Forest. I have a total amount of my playtime is 26 hours. I think the first couple hours of that were in EA, so we'll call it like 24, maybe 24 hours to beat it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I like it feels. I like that it's a little more guided at the start than like the Forest, but not like, because like when you start that game, like I'll give you like, oh, here's, you got to find Bravo team or whatever the team you dropped in with, and it's like, go ahead and find them. Here's their GPS trackers in 3 spots. Go find them. And it's like, okay, one's over on a raft on the water, so it's like you go swim out to it, but there's a shark. But you get the gun, you get a pistol from there. So it's like, okay, you got a weapon, you can use that to scare the shark away, and then you can swim back to shore without getting killed. Or I think you can also throw some meat in the water, and the shark will eat the meat. Then you can go on your way there. You also come across another dead person who's not on the doesn't have a GPS tag, that has a lot of like, there's the cook pot, there's some grenades, there's some supplies you can pick up, because like you hear a radio as you approach the beach. Then you go to another one. It's like, okay, this one's dangling off the side of a little edge on a rope. You have to shoot down. You get some stuff there, and then the third one's like, oh, you can't get it. It's buried underground. Okay, so you need a shovel. Like the game tells you, like you need a shovel to get here, but it's like it doesn't tell you where the shovel is. And then it becomes, you can find some dead soldier camps in places that'll tell you, like they might have a laptop where if you analyze it, it tells you like, hey, here's location of something, and it puts on your little GPS tracker, and you'd be like, oh, you can go check out that spot, or like here's this 3D printers over here. And then it just becomes, okay, now your job is to just, if you find a cave, just explore it. And usually once you first go into a cave, sometimes there will be like, if it's like a main cave, there'll be like dead soldiers there who have a laptop you can scan to learn something, and then you can go inside, and it's just like, just explore the cave all the way through, get past all the enemies, and just get to the end. And usually, like if it's a main cave, of which there's only so many, it's like there will be something at the end of it that you need, or you won't be able to progress. Like you need the rebreather, so it's like, okay, that must be somewhere else. And then later you find the rebreather, and then you find another progression item, and then you find something, and then after you get those 2 things, like then you can find the shovel. If you go back to the one that you need both of them, it's like, okay, now I got the shovel, I can go dig out that grave. Oh, it gives me this item. Okay, that item's locked behind this, so I don't get it so quick because this item's really powerful. This and that. But so I like that. And I feel, I'm trying to think, I do like that better than the seasons. Are interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about the seasons. I felt like winter lasted too long. I think seasons were like 5 days each, but like on day,
I don't think I saw you playing with seasons or like a ton of stuff with that, but it was, I'm curious how you, like, I know you just described the items, but it was interesting because whenever I watched you play, I feel like you'd like end the stream and basically be like, well, I just finished my stream and I feel like I didn't find any items or make any progression.
Well, that's because
most of the times.
Right. I'm talking with hindsight now. And like, because going back, I'm like, okay, I like it. The reason I didn't is because I felt like a lot of times I was like, okay, where do I go? I knew there was caves that I had been to that I didn't fully explore because they had too many enemies, and I just didn't have enough equipment to take them on. Like I could just run past them, sure, and just be like, okay, let's just blindly run and maybe I'll find something. You could do that. But like, I didn't have enough, I don't have enough ammo. I don't have enough grenades, maybe. I don't have enough batteries for the flashlight, or I don't I just don't have enough equipment. But by going around the island, eventually I had enough equipment. And then it's like, okay, when I found the cave with the rebreather, it's like, that'll lead me to the other cave I know I didn't finish exploring. I got so many, C4 sticky bombs. I got so many grenades. I got Molotovs out the ass. I got better weapons now because I found I found the modern axe. Oh, I found a fireman's axe. Well, actually I found that later after I got the shovel. But it's like I found more weapons, like stuff that I need to survive. I had actual armor. I had bone armor. I didn't have any of that going into this case. So I had no defenses. I had nothing. So it's like, and then I was like, oh, let's go explore some other caves. And a lot of the caves in the mountains were just like shallow caves that had supplies. They weren't actual like underground caves, which are primarily all not on the mountain. So it's like I'm like, my objective going into a stream would be like, okay, I'm going to go in. I want to explore all these caves up here because I knew like, okay, to progress, just like in the first game, I have to explore these caves. I'm like, but I know I have a bunch of the caves on the map that I need to explore. But every time I explored them, it's like they were just shallow. It'd be like, oh, here's a bunch of rope, here's some rags, here's some, canned food, some resources. I'm like, well, I'm not hurting for resources from a survival standpoint. And then so because I ended up exploring all those, I'm like, okay, I found a lot of POIs, but they're just not the stuff I need, and they didn't go anywhere. And so then, but because I did that kind of exploration, I accrued enough materials to actually make everything that I needed. Like, it's like, oh, I have the circuit boards, but I don't have coins, or I don't have watches, so I can't make the bombs. And then eventually by doing that, it's like I still found all that stuff. And then I went back and explored the caves that had the enemies that I didn't want to deal with at the very start of the game. Knowing that now, if I was to replay it, it'd be like, okay, the first step would be maybe go, hit all the GPS points I can, kind of run around, look for little camps or whatever to try to find items. Again, you can find the modern axe really quick, and that also gives you a bunch of like grenades and explosives, and then just go through those caves earlier. It's just I was too scared to go through them because I'm like, I don't have enough stuff to survive in these places. But at that point, again, like I said, I had enough bone armor. I had, this and that, so I was good. So
you ended up enjoying it in the end, though, like in hindsight.
Yeah, and like I knew, like clearly, my progression must have been locked by the fact I didn't go through both the like one cave that was right by my base all the way through because I didn't want to go past all the enemies that were in it, and I was a little apprehensive about progressing with that stuff. But yeah, once I went back, I'm like, okay. And then yeah, in the hindsight, everything, I kind of like the way it doles out the information to the player of like, hey, here's this. Although there was one cave I found where I found it, and then I was on my way to another spot, which was like a location I had learned about. There's like a bunker on the other side of the island I hadn't checked yet, and it's like, oh, I'll go check out that bunker. But like, oh, there's a cave over here. Well, let me go check out this cave. And then I went in it, and it was like the cave of caves. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, there was so much stuff. It went on forever. Like, all my stream was just going through that cave. Like, I thought, like, oh, this will be just a short, quick cave I can do, and then I'll go hit up this bunker. And it's like, no, this is like the big cave. And like, I went through the whole thing. And then I went to the bunker I wanted. And it was funny because, like, I mean, not really spoilers, but like I get to this bunker, which turns out to be, I get to this point of interest that turns out to be like, this is kind of like the end game location. Like once you get through it, it's like, oh, the end game is through the thing. There's like a door, it's locked. It's like, how do you get past it? Very much like, first one has like a door you have to get past and whatever. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, I clearly need this. And there was like, I kept finding these blueprints for stuff that I'd find in like caves and whatnot. And I'd be like, I'm not going to make this. But then, like, by this locked door, I found a blueprint. I'm like, well, I was trying to figure out like how to progress. It's like, okay, maybe it's this. I thought it was like one thing because I found something earlier because I went in that big cave. I found something, and that clearly looks like it was needed to get through this door. But I wasn't quite there. But there was a blueprint to build a thing next to the door. I'm like, okay, well, if they put this blueprint right by the door, let's build this thing. So I built it. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is, I guess, how it would teach the player, like, if you didn't find the cave and instead you went straight to this point, you'd find the blueprint, you go to make it, and then it would have an icon for something that you clearly don't have. And then I guess you just have to go explore and hope you find it. Like, so I'm curious how it works from that. Like, I did it in the opposite direction. I stumbled onto the cave myself, explored the entire thing, found an item that was needed as part of this blueprint to essentially make a key to get to this door. But like, I don't know how you would have, I guess you just had to assume like, okay, I need this. I don't have it. Let's just go, make it. Like it was funny. I didn't have the pickaxe. Like there's an ore that's in the game. And like, I didn't get the pickaxe like until way later. I found it, but not that it matters. It's just funny because one guy was talking to me who was a Sons of the Forest player, was like telling me about some stuff. And he's like, where's that? I'm like, man, you don't have a pickaxe? I'm like, nah, I don't have the pickaxe. I don't even have the can opener. Like, it wasn't where I thought it was from early access. I think they moved it. But yeah, I overall, I really liked it. It was funny. I make this item. I'll be non-spoilery, but I make the thing that I need to make that was next to this locked door. And I'm like, okay, I put in some stuff, and to not spoil it, I put in like, you can put in more than just the main thing. And I put in another thing that wasn't the key thing I had to put in there because I was like, oh, there's an icon here. I'll put this in there. So I put that in there because I had the stuff in my inventory. I put it in there. I activate the thing, and then some stuff happens. I end up getting attacked. It's still going. It finishes making the thing it needs to make, but I accidentally threw an explosive nearby, and I just blew up the entire thing I made. Like, I got the reward or the items, but I was like, oh damn it, I blew it up. And I was like, I used them, and I thought, like, okay, maybe these will be used for the key item. And I go back, it doesn't work. I'm like, damn it. And I'm like, well, I remember seeing the icon for this thing. I didn't put it in there. Let's go back and make another one. So I made another one, and it was kind of annoying because it took slabs of rock, which you can find around, which luckily, I guess, like, actually aren't that hard to look for. Like, I didn't do much building in this game. Like, I feel like because it was the first go, very similar to, like, the forest, like, I didn't really build much. Because, like, I'm just going out exploring. I'll make a temporary camp, which is great. You just take, like, a tarp and a stick. You can make a little safe spot and tear it down when you're done. So you can save anywhere. But I hardly ever built anything up top. But yeah, I had to, like, build another one of these things again. Like, okay, let's build another one. I'll put it in a more open area. I will use some things that let me get some resources quicker down to where I needed to go. And then I built it, did it properly, unlocked the door, and then went through and beat the game. And then the endings are interesting. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I mean, not like the first one's endings are anything to write home about. But
well, I guess before you get into the endings, when you finally beat the game, how do you feel about the monsters in this one versus the first forest? Because we talked about that, about the different monster models and whether they would feel lasting or iconic or not.
I mean, the penis finger hand guy, like, he's essentially the Armsy because he attacks very similarly in the same fashion. There's this, like, leg clapper giant hands enemy that was really cool design that kind of is like the Virginia of this game. And, like, the way, like, it jumps, it's very fast and kind of attacks and what it does. And there's some couple other ones, but it was weird. Like, I didn't ever run into them on the surface. Like, I don't know if that was, and it could be because maybe it was wintertime for a huge chunk of my playthrough, and maybe they only show up in, like, summer or fall. Like, I don't know. But it was like, I only ever found one once. Like, I had a playthrough where I was like, off stream, I wanted to build on this little lake by my starting spot. It's like, okay, I'll build a little house in the lake so no one can get me. But then as soon as I started building, and then I went to go save, I got attacked in the middle of the night. A bunch of dudes showed up. I took them down. Some new enemies up top that I hadn't seen. Some just, like, bigger, beefier ones, not mutants. I end up saving, and then it becomes winter. And I'm like, oh, the lake freezes over. And I'm like, damn it. I was like, now my idea doesn't work because they could just walk on the ice. But then one of the big lake mutants, like, showed up. And I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? I've never seen this before. But then when I ended up continuing building. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to just give up on this build. I don't want to do it. It's a waste of time. It doesn't matter. So I just went back to the save I had right before I started, which is the one that I ended my previous stream on. So I was like, I'll just continue on that one. I'm not going to bother building. But I never saw any of those big crazy mutants on the surface. I did see some later, kind of like part of, like, some story stuff. But, like, there's some of the blind ones that are up there, like normal, like, humanoid ones that are up top. You can find some of the penis finger guys, like, tied up in the little, like, tribal camps because they hate the mutants, and you can, like, find them there. But the bigger ones, like, I never, you don't see them much. And I don't know if that was just because of the difficulty. Like, maybe on higher difficulties you can run into them more often. But yeah, I mean, I the babies, there's babies still in the game. But I do miss the Armsy only because you would hear him yelling, like, in the distance. You're like, oh, there's an Armsy. Be careful.
That's interesting that they weren't on the surface. That almost makes it seem like the game wants to stress that, like, the surface isn't that scary or dangerous, and, like, only the caves are.
Well, there's a lot of, like, tribes, and then, like, some bigger buffered, like, dudes that show up that are, like, that take way more to take down.
Yeah.
And tougher. Like there's multiple different like tribe groups, I guess you could say. And so there's a lot of those guys up top. So I feel like you're always like whenever you're going somewhere, like you will always usually you can run into them a lot, depending on which part of the island you're on. And yeah, like I said, maybe it could be just related to difficulty, or like maybe there's a random chance, but again, tied to difficulty. But I don't know. Like I'm not sure. I do like they have a custom difficulty in this game, so I thought about like, oh, that'd be fun to do. Like make it to where I can take a ton of damage getting hit, but the enemies, make it like a Souls game. They can get killed pretty easily, or like keep it on normal, but I still take more damage, so I got to be extra careful. Less resources, this and that. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it overall. The experience. I look forward to playing it again whenever it comes out on console, especially because it'd be like just let you guide the run.
That was going to be my second question: is if you enjoyed it enough that you would want to play it again co-op.
Oh yeah, I would. I definitely would. I would have played it like if you had just like, oh, I got it on a PC. Like if you had just said that, I would have just rerun and be like, okay, because now I have all that knowledge. I know, like, okay, not that I would be like, let's go over here, let's go this, but like just for myself, be like, okay, now I know at least if you get stuck or we need some guidance or something, I know like this is where this is. I'll still go wherever you want to go, yada yada. But yeah, I thought about it, like, man, this would be fun because there's a way to like make to like stay and continue playing after you beat the game. And I thought about doing that, but I'm like, I don't know why I would do that by myself. Like I looked up like what you can do once you do that. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun, but I'm like,
is it just like a boss rush mode?
No, it's just like you can stay on the island, but there's like some extra. There's like an extra tool you get that does some interesting stuff. I won't spoil it, but I'm like, if you're playing solo, I'm like, why would I care? Like if I was playing with more people, I could see that like maybe like, let's stay on the island, but I don't know what you do. But yeah, I liked it. Like there were some like I said, some tough spots. I definitely would play it like playing on a higher difficulty, and then yeah, I look forward to playing more of it. It'd be fun. But yeah, fun times. I enjoyed it overall. I do like aspects of it more than the
had
first one.
co-op.
Well, you got the Spectre. Just use the Spectre.
Man, I love Souls games though. I love playing co-op and then trying out different weapons while helping people. That's like so much fun to me. So I wish Lies of P had that, so I could hop in someone else's game and just like try out different weapon builds.
Yeah, well, that's why you just got to save up all those gold coin fruits and just on NG++ and just make a bunch of weapons and be like, let's try all these out. Oh, this section I'm going to use the fire weapon. Oh, this section I'm going to use the acid weapon. Oh, this one I'm going to use this. But and then so after I beat Sons of the Forest, I started playing Frostpunk 2. Enjoying that. It's definitely it's interesting the direction they went. Like I knew that they made some changes because I'm like, okay, if it was just the exact same game, it wouldn't have taken this long to make another one. And they went like where Frostpunk 1 is very much kind of more micromanaging. This one's very much more macro management, which is interesting. And I'm liking it so far. I'm in chapter 3 or maybe chapter 4. And I do like all the mechanics they have. So there's like different factions of people in the city, and they all have their own like belief system and whatnot. And you can appease them by, you do votes, kind of like, Civ, where it's like, oh, we need to do something about this issue. How are we going to resolve it? Well, these people kind of want to go this route, where these people prefer this route. And it's like, and there's trade-offs and benefits for like, okay, maybe they both give you very similar results. Maybe one does it with more people, so it requires more of your workforce, or it creates more disease, or it creates more squalor, aka pollution, which can become a serious problem because pollution leads to sickness. Pollution also leads to needing to maintain your districts much more. So it's got some really interesting stuff going on, and I didn't think I was going to make it as far as I did because I heard people say like the game's really tough. But I don't know if they're like, I'm just playing on normal. Because I'm like, okay, brand new systems. I'm not going to play it on hard because I don't want to put that stress on me, myself right now, especially if I'm streaming the game. I just want to play it, learn it, and then when I replay it, I can put on hard difficulty. But I really like where it's going so far. It's a lot of juggling, like, your income, trying to figure out how to, very auction not included, like, okay, I need more of this. How do I get more of this item? Okay, I could do this, but that also increases this costs, yada yada, this and that. Like right now, my biggest thing is I need a stable oil income, and I have an outpost at one spot that's giving me oil, but it's not enough to meet my heat demands of my main city. And I can convert charcoal or coal into oil through a process, but you have to have it on an active extraction district, which can only be over certain spots. And I used up all of those except for one that has like essentially an infinite supply of that material. So I can put them there, but you can only put like 2 bonus buildings on a district. So, and I need one of them to be a deep drill thing, so I get to the resources that are below us and yada yada. So, but now I'm at like the next point where the next place I have to go to is going to be like really tough. Like there's some more stuff going on there. I think this new area, the new city I'm going to set up an outpost at, is going to be adding a new resource option, which is geothermal in Steam. So I think that's going to unlock soon. But it's very interesting. I'm in a great place though. I'm like, I reduced my squalor because I had my pollution got way out of control. And then I'm like, how are we going to solve it? And someone's like, oh, let's make some moss filters. I'm like, we're making moss filters. Research it, install those moss towers all over our residential districts, expand all the districts. Like I say too, like going back, I'd like to replay, because now like knowing how the expansions of districts work and district placement, very much like Civilization, I know like, okay, I need to do this better because the way I did it now isn't the best option. But I like it so far. It has some fun Twitch integration where like you can, so like anytime you vote on a new law, it tells you like who's in favor of this variant of that law, like your solution. And it'll show you like how many people you have for, how many are against, and how many you can negotiate with. And you negotiate with them like saying like, hey, let's vote for this bill. I want you to vote for it. And in return, I will do this for you. And usually it's like maybe research something that they're interested in, a tech path they like to go down, or building something. And you can integrate your Twitch chat to be like, to vote as well. And you can customize the percentage of that weighted vote. So, kind of like how like the Game Awards is like.
So like they can vote on all of the things you're going to go down and do?
Like, yeah, so they can like vote like, hey, we're putting up to vote. And if like chat's like, maybe like, oh, we want to side with the Frostlanders, or we want to side with the Evolvers. And, so like chat like split, you can be like, okay, for every like, if you have, if you're like Northern Line, you have a ton of chatters, you could be like, okay, every vote from a chatter is only worth like a fraction of a percent or something. That way they don't outweigh the actual citizens in your city. But
it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's it like I said, I really like it. It's very complex. They went very big way with it, but I like it so far. You're managing like multiple different outposts. There's some interesting stuff that comes up. And again, I'm curious if I'm going to make it. I didn't think I was going to make it again as far as I did, because I thought I was going to fail the objective to get past the first whiteout, because it took me so long to get like a oil set up and then get a surplus of oil. I'm like, oh man. But I do like the way they do heat management. Like managing heat in the first one was like the biggest thing. So it's like, okay, we got to upgrade the generator to use less coal, so it's more efficient. We got to increase how much heating the houses have. We got to upgrade housing units so we can get actual houses, not bunks or shacks or whatever, to increase the insulation, yada yada. So it was like all that management in the first game. This one's just like, nah, we're not going to do that. It's just if shit gets cold, your heat demand goes up, and as your demand goes up, the fuel required to meet that demand increases. So it's like, okay, if it's warm and it takes 200 coal a day to keep your generator running, it's like every new district you add requires a heat source to keep it active. So it's like, okay, this district has 20 to your demand, and you can like see how much, if you're at a surplus demand, if you're not, yada yada. So I like that it's like that. So I'm not micromanaging the heat. I'm just managing the resource, which I like. So it's fun. I like it a lot. But I'm playing that. It's a good time. The one thing that annoys me though is like so OBS has like a test stream feature where you can test stream to a test server, and that you can be like, okay, let's play this game and let's see if I have any drop frames or if my bitrate's bad. So when I was playing Frostpunk, I was like, okay, let's see if I can play this game. And I was looking at OBS, so I had it at the default resolution, which it's tied to your monitor resolution. So it was at 4K. I'm like, okay, let's do 4K, whatever. It's not a first-person game, whatever. We'll do high settings. And I did the test stream. The test stream's like, oh, it's great. The problem with your test stream is you can't test what your camera looks like. So when I went to go actually run it, my camera was all laggy. because that's the one thing I couldn't see. Like the game ran fine, but my camera, it couldn't. The GPU was allocating too much resources to the game. It couldn't allocate it to running the green screen and the camera. So the camera lagged out. So I had to lower the resolution to 1440. But because it was tied to my monitor resolution, you have to change my monitor resolution output to 1440 and yada yada, and then play it that way. So that was a little frustrating. But I wish there was a way to like test it but still view it, if that makes sense. But oh well. And then
I think that would be what most people would expect, just to be clear.
Well, I know a lot of people like usually they'll say like, oh, you should have like a test specific Twitch account, which is what I used to use the one I made for Good Games Well Played.
I mean, that's a good workaround, but that should never be literally what people expect.
Yeah, it's like okay, but yeah, I did see the TwitchCon. So TwitchCon was last week, and I guess they did announce that they're working on offering encoding on the viewer side, which would be really cool because we talked about this before. But like right now, encoding's limited to partners, and then allocated to affiliates in a certain percentage, and then normal people streaming don't get it at all. So like whatever your output resolution is from OBS, that's what Twitch is broadcasting. But then you have situations where people with bad internet, or they're watching on mobile, on like 5G or whatever. And if you're outputting at 1080p 60, they're not going to be able to watch the stream easy. Versus like people who are partnered or affiliates, where it's like, okay, I can watch it and put it in automatic, and it'll be in like 720p if your internet can't handle it, yada yada. But given the option to do it, because YouTube does it on their own for everybody, but Twitch doesn't. It's only for the partner folks. But if you're allowing users to do it on end, then it's just like it's your computer power that's doing it. So it's like, okay, you can do it. You'll just probably have to play at like a lower resolution, or only play in 1080p, maybe not do on high settings, yada yada. So, or do dual PC streaming setup. And do it that way. So I'm like, oh, that'd be great, because that's the only reason like I want to be like I'd love to get that affiliate mark, is just to have those encoding options, because I'm like, it's so frustrating. It's like, oh man. But anyway, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, outside of that, just playing that. I have been playing Oddworld Apes Exodus as well. I got the urge to play that and doing a 300 run on there.
Are you going to play the Alan Wake DLC when it comes out? In like a week or something?
A week? Oof. Is it a week? It's not end of August or October?
I thought they said it was like October 8th. Did I make that up? Maybe there's a different game October 8th that I might be mixing it up with.
I was hoping to be later. I mean, I do want to play...
Silent Hill Remake 2 is supposed to be start of October.
Okay, maybe I am interested in that. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'll probably play, because I didn't play the Night Springs DLC, because it was more like, not really story related. It was just like, hey, a little like silly what if one-offs kind of thing. But I was thinking about, what if I just played them both back to back? Because then it's like, don't have to worry about... That's
exactly what I'm planning on.
Relearning the controls, back when Night Springs came out, then stop and then go back and play the Lake House, and then be like, I gotta learn the controls again. But yeah, no, I'll be interested in playing that for sure. But yeah, just playing Oddworld in between Frostpunk, just because it'd be fun. And then it's funny because that game's like 4x3, so I have to change my entire OBS overlay to fit this small thing, and I got a lot of empty space. So what am I going to put over here? Let's find a banner, yada yada, this and that. But yeah, Frostpunk's really enjoying that. It's really good, man. I play chess on chess.com often, and they do this thing where, like, if you play multiple days in a row, like, you get a streak going. But then if you stop, they pause your streak and go, oh, we paused your streak. I'm like, that's not what a streak is. Like, if I don't play for a day, you don't just pause and go, oh, you didn't play on Thursday, we're putting it on pause so you can continue your streak. I'm like, no, if I miss
that's
Thursday,
some bullshit.
That streak starts over. I don't know how long. Like, I think it's got like once a certain amount of days go by, then it does actually cancel it. But it's just so funny when I get an email like, yo, we paused your streak for you. I'm like, then that's not what it is, man. That's not a streak if you're pausing it. It's just so ridiculous. But I still want to play Astro Bot, but I have like $60 worth of PlayStation Star points I got to redeem before the end of the year.
Why haven't you purchased it yet then?
Yeah, I just, like, I'm not going to play it right now. And if I tell my kid about it, that I got it, then he's going to want to play it, and I only have the one PS5. And I'm like,
can only lie to him for so long and tell him it's not out yet for so long before some other kid at school is like, "You're an idiot. It's already out."
Well, when he complains to the therapist that he's got so much anxiety because his dad didn't tell him about Astrobot, then I'll worry about it. But
That's when you worry about it.
no, I'll probably get it too, because I was thinking like, oh, I could get Space Marine 2, but I was like, I'll probably just get that on PC if I do get it down the line, because it'll be probably on sale quicker on Steam than it is on the PlayStation Store. But we'll see. But yeah, I will get that at some point because I do want to play it. But yeah, I just have a lot that I could play. I need to play. Man, I need to put in my little dust filter in this room. I feel like every time I clean and I look, it's like, just like, how is there so much dust in here? I don't get it. It's like I'll clean up and this little shitty dust comes back.
Welcome to life, man.
Yeah, it sucks. But anyway, yeah, I think that's it that I have for notes on what I've been playing. I know you said you've been watching a bunch of horror movies, right?
Yeah. So I watched Never Let Me Go, and then
Is that the Halle Berry one?
Yeah, it's the Halle Berry one. So I watched that, which was I'll not spoil some of these because I know you haven't seen that yet. That one was okay. I enjoyed it. I probably wouldn't rewatch it frequently.
I saw an ending explained article on IGN for us. I'm like, okay, it can't be that good, I guess, if they have to do an ending explained.
The ending explained, I'll just put it this way, like, it's one of the few movies where like an ending explained article probably makes sense, but I didn't find the movie to be great. It had really cool visuals, it had a really cool concept, it played off of a lot of stuff really well, and then like with a lot of horror movies, it just kind of fell apart for me when they tried to resolve things. I watched Talk to Me, which came out I think a year or two ago, but that's the one where they get the mummified hand that lets you talk to the dead. That movie was great, and the kid that plays the young possessed kid throughout the movie was fucking awesome in it. So that one was really spooky. And then I watched the old Cube 2 Hypercube, which is one of my favorites. I don't know if you've ever seen the Cube movies, but
I've seen the first one.
They're like such campy fun to me. The concept of just being locked in like an interdimensional jail test cell cube thing where each room does something different to you. It's kind of like the Saw movies in a weird sense. So I watched that, and then there was one other one that I watched. I watched the new Hellraiser again, which I really like. The one that came out on Hulu, I think 2 years ago. But that's a great movie as well.
Yeah, I watched Evil Dead Rise. We talked about it in Discord.
We did.
Like, it was good, but it wasn't like scary. But a great performance by the mom.
Yeah, that's kind of
that's really good.
I liked Evil Dead Rise as a horror movie, or like a kind of spooky movie, but it definitely feels like a weird. It feels like a weird Evil Dead movie. It doesn't feel like as campy as you would expect. Like they tried to make it actually serious tonally, which I don't think quite works for Evil Dead, but I still enjoyed it as a movie. I just, for me, Evil Dead is a laughing moose head on a wall with Bruce Campbell cackling.
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking the VHS 94, that anthology horror series. Someone was telling me like they're like, oh, I watched it, and there's like came out like 2021, and usually I don't usually watch those until after I read like the synopsis of some of them, because it's an anthology series, some of them are hit and miss. But there's one sub story from 94 that sounded pretty interesting, where there's like I won't spoil it, but it just sounded interesting, so I might watch that. But I think they're all on Shudder, and I think if I'm correct, like it's supposed to be like a VHS Beyond, which I believe came out this year, and Kate Siegel did one. I think Alana Pierce stars in it, and it's supposed to be, it got good reviews. I only see it because it keeps getting promoted on like Twitter, because Alana Pierce would tweet about it. But Kate Siegel, of course, being she's married to Mike Flanagan. She's in like The Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, stuff like that. House of Usher. She's a good actor. Isn't she in that Hush movie, which I never saw? The one where like she's deaf and there's like someone in her house stalking her.
Oh, I'm not sure.
That's on. Yeah, she's in that one. It's on Netflix. I've never watched it, but I've heard it's supposed to be pretty good.
I know a lot of people like it, but yeah, I've also never actually watched it.
Yeah, but yeah, apparently this is the story that she did is supposed to be pretty good. But again, that's on Shudder, so I'm not subscribed to Shudder, but I guess
I've
Just have
debated
to,
it sometimes, but really the only month I want to be subscribed to it is, October.
yeah. Yeah, that's all. I don't have anything else. I don't know if you had anything else. To touch
No,
on.
just I'm excited about the horror games that are actually coming out in October this year because I feel like a lot of times they'll release like a major horror game, but they release it in like November. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I think, not Slitterhead since that's not out yet, but what was the Dead Space similar Dead Space game that came out last year or maybe like 2 years ago? I'm blanking on it, but it was like the prison.
Callisto Protocol.
Yeah, Callisto Protocol. I think that game came out in like November.
Yeah, I was trying that. Yeah, because then Dead Space came out in February of the following year.
Callisto Protocol release date. Yeah, Callisto Protocol came out in December, and this is always one of my big pet peeves of if you're going to release a horror game, don't release it in the Christmas season or Thanksgiving season right after Halloween. Like release a horror game at the start of October or like a month earlier or something. So I'm really happy that Dead Space is free this month, that Alan Wake 2 is coming out this month, that I really hope the Silent Hill remake actually comes out, though they haven't mentioned anything on it in a while, and I'm probably going to look it up after this podcast and realize it's delayed. But yeah, I'm excited to play a bunch of horror games this month and catch up on a bunch of the horror movies I've missed over the last year or two.
A lot of stuff on the way. See how it all turns out. Yeah, I feel like anytime I look up reviews, so I see on like IGN for like shows and movies and games, it's always like it seems like it's the reviews always ping pong back and forth. It's like 8, a 6, a 7, a 5, an 8, a 4. It's like what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah. And there's like so many movies I have on my wish list that I want to watch. The only reason I watched Evil Dead Rise because it was added to Netflix. I'm like, all right, I can get it because it was on Vudu. I usually just throw movies on my wish list so I can just remember to keep track of them. And I'm trying to see like what's on my wish list right now that I haven't seen yet. Like Long Legs, I want to watch that. That's on my list, but I'm not spending. It's $19 to rent, but I'm gonna wait. But that's supposed to be pretty good. Got that on there. I'm morbidly curious about the Borderlands movie, so I have that on there just to watch at some point. Still haven't seen Furiosa. Abigail, I haven't seen that. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Quiet Place Day 1, Monkey Man, Dune 2.
Oh, that
Wrath
was
of
what I
Becky.
watched. I watched A Quiet Place Day 1. That was a good one. I really enjoyed that as well.
I still need to watch Halloween Ends. I didn't watch that. Sisu, I want to watch that. I still need to watch Bad Boys for Life and then Bad Boys Ride or Die. American Fiction, The Blackening. I have like all these Nightmare Alley. Oh, that's on sale. Like just
Yeah, you got a lot of shit to watch, man.
Yeah, well, it's like nothing ever goes on streaming anymore. So it's like, and I don't mind renting Trap. I'm curious about Trap. I know it kind of got like okay reviews, like 7s, but I'm curious about that one. But yeah, it's just the problem is I'm not gonna like everything comes out. It's like, oh, you want to rent it? You can, because they'll put on.
This is why I'm like a year or two behind, is because I don't like renting all of the movies. So
Yeah.
I'm watching like Talk to Me. The reason I'm watching it this year is because it finally came out free after it released, a year or two ago. So I can finally actually watch it. And then A Quiet Place Day 1 came to Paramount, which for some reason we just have someone else's login for Paramount, and I don't know why, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, and I like this is why I miss the physical media from Netflix. Like, because that's what I do is I would just store that shit on my Netflix queue, and then just get in the DVD or the Blu-ray, and then just watch it and then send it back. It's like I know people are like, oh, everything digital. It's like, yeah, but there was benefits of that where I just paid a monthly fee and then I just watch a bunch of movies. Like, and I make sure I took time to watch them. It's like, and then it also kind of prompts you to like take the time to, make sure you watch it in order so you can get the next one in your queue and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like now it's like typically if it's a movie I know I want, it's like I will buy it. Like, oh, John Wick 4, give me that. It's like I know I'm gonna want to own it, so I'll own it. Usually I'll buy like the 4K version because it comes with the Blu-ray of the 1080p version and the digital copy. So it's like, and it's always the same price as the digital release day cost. I'll do that. But it's like, yeah, if it's a movie I know I want to own, I'll just buy it when it comes out. But otherwise, the other ones are like I would go to the theaters and see them if I could. Like I would have seen most of these in theaters if I was able to do so. But it's like, yeah, so now I just gotta wait. But the list just luckily it kind of slowed down, hasn't really grown too much. But because then usually by the time I wait, it's like, oh, Wrath of Becky's on Amazon Prime, or
I think Wrath of Becky is on free on One because I watched it last year, and I think it was. I don't remember paying for it.
It might be on a service I don't have, but yeah, I'm sure, like, because there's, like you said, there's Paramount Plus, there's
I mean,
Hulu
the only ones I pay
some
for are
sometimes.
Hulu and occasionally Netflix, but we have friends that we all own one or two and then just share with each other because it's way too fucking expensive.
All right, we'll go ahead and call it there. Trying to look to see if there's anything else that I could speak on that I missed, but that's pretty much it. So, yeah, thank you all for tuning and listening. Thank you, Izzy, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see you all next time.
Later.